My friends, good morning. Really fascinating conversation happening right now. Right, dear?
Right.
Really fascinating conversation. Maybe we'll carry it on in a second. But I want to share something with you that I studied this morning, that I read. I've read this a couple of times, and I continue to read a lot of the same stuff because I get new lessons every single time. This morning I was reading a book that I've already shared with you guys, Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. Phenomenal book, Steal Like an Artist. It's a great, great, great book. This morning, conversation is on schooling yourself. School is one thing, education is another. The two don't always overlap. Whether you're in school or not, it's always your job to get an education. You have to be curious about the world in which you live. Look things up. Chase down every reference. Go deeper than anybody else. That's how you'll get ahead. And then there's a cool quote in here from one of the greatest rappers of all time, the RZA. It says, whether I went to school or not, I would always study. Something that I've learned not only about the successful, not only about the people that are leading, thought leaders, business leaders, entrepreneurs, they're constantly searching. Like, I'm fascinated with private aviation. I'm fascinated with helicopters and with private jets. And I could literally tell you, as a private jet is flying over, I can tell you just by looking at the wing configuration and the engine configuration what kind of jet it is, whether it's a Citation, a Gulfstream. I can tell you exactly what it is. I can tell you when a helicopter is flying by if it's a Sikorsky, if it's a Bell, if it's a Robinson, because I'm fascinated by that stuff. So I'm constantly studying and looking up private aviation. I'm looking at helicopters. I'm looking at airplanes. I'm looking at all this stuff. It's a phenomenal lesson. You have to be curious about the world in which you live. We haven't found the bottom of the ocean yet. We haven't found the freaking edge of the universe. Like, we're just getting started as human beings. We're these little mortal creatures, these little peons of things spinning around on this massive rock in the cosmos that we know very little about. Think about that for a second. What's he freaking out about? Yet we pigeonhole ourselves into this little thing. We pigeonhole ourselves into this little box, this little area, this little whatever. We have this thing called Google. We have this thing called the internet, which we can literally educate ourselves on anything, everything. We go to work and we work 9 to 5. We do what we're told and think that we can't have the same things as the CEO or have the same knowledge as the professors or the engineers or the architects. You can have whatever you want. You just got to do exactly what he's talking about here. School yourself. School yourself. So again, it goes back to kind of the conversation that I always have with people. You can come home and you can spend 4 or 5 hours watching TV, numbing your mind. You can spend 5 hours a night playing Halo with your buddies. You can dick around and jerk off and whatever you're going to do, or you can realize that there's like an infinite amount of knowledge and wisdom out there. And it's up to me to go get it. It's up to you to go get it. Nobody's just going to say, hey, here's a whole bunch of information on helicopters. I just am fascinated by it, so I'm constantly looking it up. My friends, today, school yourself. School yourself. You have to be curious about the world in which you live, he says. Always be reading. Go to the library. There's magic in being surrounded by books. There's magic in being surrounded by books. There's magic in being surrounded. This is literally my dinner table. This is my dining room table. This isn't my desk. This isn't my bookshelf over here in the corner. This is just my table that we're constantly sitting at reading. Get lost in the stacks. Read. It's not the book you start with. It's the book that leads you to another book. Collect books, even if you don't plan on reading them. Filmmaker John Walters has always said, nothing is more important than an unread library. Don't worry about doing research. Just search. My friends, school yourself. Read. Lots of cool shit. Like this book. Why am my nose running every time I drink coffee in the morning? It's a great book. Go get it. My friends. Yeah, I am aware, Mike. And if, Mike, you'd have tuned in a little earlier, you'd have seen that I actually turned the thing around. So maybe perhaps you should Google, based off the lesson today, how to read backwards, Mike. Why do I always have to come up with the ideas, babe? He's complaining that it's backwards. Do you know that it's backwards? I do know that it's backwards. Google how to read backwards. Little skill you might be able to pick up. Share it with your neighbors. Get really drunk and show your friends how cool it is that you can now read backwards. God bless America. You guys are awesome. See ya.